Good afternoon, buenas tardes. Very good to be back in Colombia. I was here, as this young lady was reminding me, 15 years ago as minister in the government of India at that time. And I had some very good meetings on that occasion with your president and foreign minister in those days. But I have not been back to Colombia in the 15 years since. So it is very satisfying to be back with you again today. Though the circumstances that bring us here are not particularly happy ones. India suffered a grievous terrorist attack on the 22nd of April, when 26 holidaymakers, tourists in our northern territory of Jammu and Kashmir, were gunned down in cold blood by terrorists from across the border in Pakistan. These people actually even asked the religion of the people they were accosting before shooting them dead. And it was a ruthless, cold-blooded, awful massacre of innocent people. When this happened, of course, the world rose up to condemn the terrorist attack, but that was as far as it went. There was no action taken, not even by the country where these people had emerged from, namely Pakistan. Nobody was arrested. There was no attempt at any prosecution. India decided that this kind of outrage could not go unpunished. And therefore, on the 7th of May, India chose to launch strikes against known terror bases, headquarters and launch pads of organizations listed as terror organizations by the United Nations Sanctions Committee on Terrorism, the 1267 Committee, and also on the wanted list, the designated terror list of the United States government. So we were not targeting any Pakistani government institutions, any Pakistani civilian institutions, or even any Pakistani military institutions. We only attacked terror bases. And we did so with a great deal of precision, so much so that in one particular example, we struck a very specific building inside the rather large campus of a particular terrorist organization. And this kind of precision was meant to drive home a very specific message. The message was that if you think you can come and kill our civilians and get away with impunity, that is not going to happen. You will pay a price. At the same time, we took care to conduct these strikes at night, 1 o'clock in the morning, 1:05 to 1:30, so there would be no civilians around and there would be minimal risk of collateral damage. And because of the care with which we had avoided any other target, we were quite confident that the only victims of these attacks would be people located in or residing in these terror headquarters, and indeed so it proved. In fact, the next day there was a well-publicized funeral of one of the terrorists on the sanctions list, and you will be interested to see that that funeral was attended by uniformed senior military and police personnel from Pakistan. That is the extent of complicity that we are seeing between the terrorists who perpetrate crimes of this nature and those who finance, guide, train, arm, and equip them, and who provide them safe haven to continue their training and their other awful deeds. This was then followed by an 88-hour conflict. I will not call it a war, but during that conflict, the Pakistanis shelled indiscriminately. They killed 19 civilians in the district of Poonch by hitting, amongst other things, a Gurudwara, a Sikh temple, a convent of the Carmelites of Mother Mary. They hit civilian homes, they hit cars, residential areas, and in retaliation, India also shelled back. We have then been at the receiving end of a barrage of missiles and drones, which were blocked by our air defenses, and we in turn struck Pakistani military airfields. At the end of 88 hours of these exchanges of strikes, the Pakistanis asked for a cessation of fire, and India immediately agreed. And the reason we had agreed is from the very beginning we had said we had no intention of starting a protracted conflict. We just wanted to teach a lesson to the terrorists alone. And we had said to the Pakistanis, if you don't retaliate, we will not retaliate. If you stop, we will stop. And that's why the war was able to end as swiftly as it did. Now, I want to stress to you, Colombia has good relations with India. We have $1.5 billion of investment in this country, in Colombia, from India. We are a country that is interested and focused only in economic growth, in development, in the well-being and prosperity of our people. Not that many years ago, a large number of our people were still living below the poverty line. For us, the biggest challenge is bringing them into prosperity in the 21st century. We have no desire to be distracted by any trouble on our borders or any conflict. We are very happy to leave our neighbor Pakistan alone if they will leave us alone. Sadly, however, what we are seeing is that Pakistan is not content with the status quo. They seek something we have that we are not going to give them, and that is our territory in Kashmir. And given that, if Pakistan believes that by resorting to all means, including terrorism, in pursuit of a policy called the death by 1,000 cuts, well, India is not so easy to dispose of, and I can assure you that India will stand firm. We are a land of peace. In fact, we're looking forward to visiting one of the statues of Mahatma Gandhi in this lovely city of Bogota. I believe you have two. Mahatma Gandhi was the apostle of peace, of ahimsa and non-violence. But he was also the leader of our freedom struggle. He fought for freedom against British oppression. And he taught us that freedom also includes freedom from fear. That you cannot live in fear and hold your head high. And we are determined that the answer to terrorism will be so firm and decisive that the terrorists and those who facilitate them will have to think more than once before they embark on such a misadventure. The reason we have come to Colombia, and we are in the middle of a 5-country tour. We have been to Guyana and Panama. We're going to Brazil and then to the United States. The reason we are here in Colombia is to seek the sympathy and understanding of the people of Colombia and the government of Colombia, of the legislators, the diputados of Colombia, and of public opinion, the opinion leaders, those who think about world affairs. We want them to understand and to empathize with our plight. We know that Colombia has had a tragic history of enduring terrorist attacks as well. We deeply, deeply empathize and have always stood strongly with Colombia when it has suffered the depredations of terror. We seek the same understanding and the same response. Please stand with us, and please be aware that we are here not only to tell you what has already happened, but to also tell you, as friends, that if this happens again, we will once again act very, very strongly. It is important that people understand this. As you know, all of us in the world want to see peace. Whenever something happens, the immediate response of the world is peaceful solution, peace, calm, non-violence, dialogue. And that is our preference too. But you cannot talk peace with a gun pointed at your head. And that is our reality. We will respond to what has been done to us as we judge necessary. And as I say once again, we seek your understanding and support in our struggle and our fight against terrorism. I'll stop there. You're so many of you, I'm sure you have questions. I'll be very, very pleased to respond. Thank you, and Jai Hind. I'll certainly happy to turn to you later. Let me get a Colombian journalist first. Yes, sir. There's a mic coming.
¿Cuáles han sido las posiciones concretas del Ejecutivo colombiano? Es decir, ha habido una solidaridad, pero ¿qué otras posiciones concretas se han presentado? ¿Y de qué manera este tipo de ataques terroristas, en qué áreas afectaron más a la India? Serían básicamente esas preguntas. Gracias.
Thank you. I have to say that we were a little disappointed in the reaction of the Colombian government, which apparently expressed heartfelt condolences on the loss of lives in Pakistan after the Indian strikes, rather than sympathizing with the victims of terrorism. We will say to our friends in Colombia, there can be no equivalence between those who dispatch terrorists and those who resist them. There can be no equivalence between those who attack and those who defend. We are only exercising our right of self-defense, and if there is any misunderstanding here on this score, we are here to dispel any such misunderstanding. We're very happy to talk to Colombia in some detail about the circumstances. We have, as I said, very concrete proof. In fact, when this terrorist attack occurred, it was immediately claimed by an organization called the Resistance Front, which is a unit of the Lashkar-e-Toiba based in Muridke, Pakistan. There is no doubt that they reiterated this credit the next day. It is only after their handlers realized the damage this could do that they then deleted the claim 2 days later. But the claim has been made. There is no doubt as to where this came from. And we will reserve always the right to hit back. Just as Colombia has endured many terror attacks, so have we in India. We have endured a very large number of attacks for almost 4 decades. Frankly, it is now very well established that Pakistan has been breeding the monsters of terrorism for a very long time for their own purposes. We all know that when Osama bin Laden was being hunted around the world, it was Pakistan that gave him shelter. The Americans found him in a safe house in an army, near an army base in a cantonment city. In other words, they found him and killed him, the world's most wanted terrorist, in Pakistan, a country which sadly has incubated terrorism for some years now, for at least 4 decades now. And for this reason, we would like the government and people of Colombia to understand that there should be no equivalence. Lives lost may be lives lost, but the lives lost in India were those of tourists, of civilians, of nuns, of worshippers, of ordinary people. The lives that were lost in Pakistan were the lives of terrorists, well-known terrorists. There is a difference. On your second question as to where the damage was done this time overwhelmingly in the states bordering Pakistan, that is in Jammu and Kashmir. Also, I think they might turn this off, the sound is not. Also in 1 or 2 districts of our neighboring state of Punjab, which is right next door to Pakistan, and to somewhat lesser extent in the state of Rajasthan. In other words, the Pakistani shelling was particularly affecting our border states, and these states took the burden of having to thwart the missiles. But we were well prepared to defend these states. These are our border states. We defend them well, and we were able to prevent any significant loss of life. There was some property damage, considerable property damage in some places. But it was only in Kashmir that lives were lost. First 26 on the 22nd of April, and then further 19 on the 8th of May. And that is, for us, 45 lives too many. There are still 59 people in hospital, or they were when we left India a week ago. It's a very, very serious situation. There was also, I would say, my friend, an intention on the part of the terrorists to provoke a negative reaction in India against our brothers and sisters from the Muslim community. The terrorists specifically asked if people were Hindu or non-Muslim before shooting them dead. There were 25 Hindus, one of them from Nepal, and one Christian who was shot dead. In addition, of course, the shells killed Sikhs and Christians as well. But I say this to you, that India very proudly stayed united. There were some brief moments of anger, as you can understand, in every society, but very quickly India rallied around the unity that is embodied in our country's constitution and the national flag, and we stayed as one voice. I should have mentioned at the very beginning of my remarks, let me do so now, that my colleagues and I represent 5 political parties in India, we represent 7 different states in India, and we represent different languages, different religions. We have 3 religions amongst the 7 of us. We are truly reflective of the diversity of India, whether it's linguistic diversity, political diversity, religious diversity. But we are united in the message we have brought to you in Colombia. Yes.
¿Cómo imagina la India una hoja de ruta sostenible para la paz con Pakistán, dados los persistentes desafíos del terrorismo transfronterizo y la desconfianza política?
Madam, the answer is very simple. We have been saying for many, many years to Pakistan, take steps to dismantle the terror infrastructure in your country. Take steps to prosecute and arrest those people who have been identified with specific terror attacks. Please understand, madam, that we are talking about one notorious case, the killings in Mumbai in 2008, when as many as 170 ordinary people were gunned down by terrorists from Pakistan. One of them was captured alive. His identity could not be concealed. Pakistan could not deny his identity, and the rest of the plot unraveled. Detailed dossiers were provided. Western intelligence agencies had information. Both they and our intelligence people had recorded the chilling voice of the handler from Pakistan giving blow-by-blow instructions to the killers to shoot dead various civilians. So with all that evidence, we went to Pakistan, not just us, other countries, and said, you must prosecute these people. That happened in 2008. Today, 17 years later, there has been no successful prosecution, no conviction. Nobody associated with this awful crime has been punished by Pakistan. The only punishment was to the one terrorist we were able to capture. The others who conducted these crimes were gunned down in the act of putting down the terrorist action. So I will say to you that if Pakistan were to change its colors, if it were to deliberately now start taking action against known terrorists, if it were to shut down these headquarters that we have attacked, the Lashkar-e-Toiba, the Jaish-e-Mohammed in Bahawalpur, the Harkatul Ansar, the Harkatul Mujahideen, all of these organizations created, spawned, financed by Pakistanis and by Pakistan itself, on their territory enjoying safe haven, training terrorists day after day, including many who have conducted terror attacks in Europe who were trained in Pakistan. Unless this terror factory is shut down, there can be no meaningful dialogue, madam. And you may be right that the only sustainable solution will come through dialogue and peace. But as I said to you earlier, we cannot do that with a gun pointed to our heads. You put away the gun, you put away the bullets, then we will talk. But that means dismantling the terror infrastructure, and that, sadly, has not happened at all.
¿Qué papel juega China en carrera armamentista de Pakistán, en su aviación, en una fuerza militar que parece que es apoyada por China?
Yes, sir, we are quite conscious of what you are saying. China supplies 81% of all Pakistani defense equipment. Defense is a polite word. Pakistani military equipment, much of it is not for defense, but for attack. We also know, and this is something which we respect, every sovereign country has the right to do this, that the single largest project in China's Belt and Road Initiative is in Pakistan, the so-called China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, which is a corridor, a highway connecting China to a port in southwestern Pakistan that permits goods to be transported relatively quickly and economically to western China. So we are aware of that. And our concern is not with the rights of the Pakistani people to pursue development. Of course, they may do so, including with the partnership with China. Our quarrel is only with the perpetration of terror against us. If that will stop, the rest won't matter. We will pursue our own development, and we will happily leave Pakistan alone to pursue their development. With the blessings and help of China, no problem. But not when it comes to terrorism.